that to understand any nation and its current context, it is necessary to explore the sources present in the folk and rural areas and history. After all, what are these references and sources that help in understanding the makings of the Indian nation? What would be the time for understanding them and their history? What would be the ideology? What would be the theory? These are some of the questions which always trouble history scholars. Jaishankar Prasad says about India, Arun yah madhumay, desh hamara, and then in the collective consciousness of the larger society of the country, the aspiration for national liberation in the form of words resonates all over with the sentiments of national एस्थेटिक एज जहाँ पहुँच अनजान क्षितिज को मिला एक सहारा स्लैश सरल तमरस गरबा विभा पर नाच रही तरुशिखा मनोहर स्लैश चितकारा जीवन हरियाली पर मंगल कुमकुम सारा. Although these feelings in the poetry of Jaishankar Prasad indicate the traditional nationalism of the Indian nation, writers like Bharatendu Harishchandra, Balkrishna Bhatt, Mahavir Prasad Dwivedi and Acharya Ramchandra Shukla, Acharya Hazari, Prasad Dwivedi, Ram Vilas Sarma, etc. address it by associating it with national literature. It is also true that these creations inspired the Indians to stand prepared against the British Raj and create a historical form of nationalism in Indian society for which the country and its people are supreme. The question is how to understand this form of nationalism created between 1857 and 1947. Should it be linked to the peasant movements of Gandhi, the Dalit references of Ambedkar, the revolutionary socialism of Bhagat Singh, or the radical nationalist attitude of Subhash Chandra Bose? It is a complex question, but what is important is the way Hindi writers like Premchand, Ramchandra Shukla, Hajari Prasad Dwivedi, etc. see it in caste contexts. Writers like Ravindranath Tagore of Bengal consider it as a hypothetical consciousness. Tagore sees a deep understanding of the civilization and cultures of the subcontinent in that consciousness, which he tries to understand through his novels like Gora and works like Gitanjali. Meanwhile, Premchand sees hidden currents of rural civilization in it, which he tries to understand by associating them with the agricultural way of life. But the folks' memories and the various versions of folk creation imprinted in those memories help to understand the nationalist creations between 1857 and 1947. For example, dividing this form of nationalism and its historical consciousness into the following periods of the history of the Indian independence movement somewhat helps in understanding the structure of Indian nationalism. First, The struggle of 1857 and culmination second 1873 and Indian literature, press and journalism 1885, the rise of Congress and the rise of a new intellectual class 1905, the partition of Bengal, the surge of the independence movement 1917, Gandhi, Ambedkar, and the national stream of the freedom movement 1942, Quit India movement, liberation context of revolutionary nationalism. Meanwhile, 1936 brought about a different meaning to the world of literature when the economically oppressed and socially exploited sections became the focal point of literature. It can be seen as nationalism of the oppressed and deprived sections, which Premchand alludes to in his novel Godan, published in 1936. Godan in a splendid example of pleasant nationalism. Premchand in his novel has tried to understand the meaning of nationalism for the deprived and exploited society on the pretext of the characters of a farmer Hori and a laborer Gobar. An important task will be understanding nationalism and contemporary India based on these contexts and the literary works highlighting them. Stop.